Tell everyone to come to my new live, Jill. I had to start another one. Unless it brings them over. It's working. It's working. Hi, Andrea. Had a little technical difficulty there. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Amber. Yep. Jeez Louise.
It's still not on. No, it's still not on YouTube. It's on here. It's not on YouTube.
Hi, Christina. Can you guys hear me?
I'm going to show you again.
Everyone's saying yes. They can see me and hear me. You're in a different live.
You restart live?
I had to. That's why I told you to tell him I was restarting it. How you guys doing?
I was typing that and I didn't hear you. Okay, you're there.
Okay, let's just start over. California man Michael Garcia awarded $50 million from Starbucks because they burned his genitals. That's a pretty severe burn.
That's
Not good. But how hot? How hot is your coffee? I mean, seriously. Like, what if someone tried to drink that? Wouldn't it disfigure your mouth?
it would definitely burn your mouth. Absolutely.
Starbucks is going to appeal. You know what year it is, Jill?
Yes.
What year is it?
2025.
That's not what I mean.
Oh. What do you mean?
It's the year of the cicada.
Oh, okay.
Every 17 years we get cicadas. This is that year. And it's going to be wild. No, I don't. No, he was not naked. Susan, he was not naked. Yeah, the whole eastern region of the United States, from Massachusetts down to Georgia, is going to be invaded with cicadas this year. And look out for, what do they say? The Brood 14. The Brood 14 apparently is a Billy Badass. And Robert's saying we had him last year. I don't remember, but this was on the news. Year of the cicada. One thing I did learn: in order for the cicadas to come out, temperature has to reach 64 degrees, 6 inches below ground.
Right.
Here's the shirt. The 51st state. That's not a thing. This is one of the many shirts available on my store. There's a link in my bio right under my description. Under my picture, there's a link to a Shopify store there. You can get them there, or you can go to my store on YouTube and get them there. An Australian influencer is under fire for dragging a baby wombat away from his mother as the mother gave chase. Yeah. So she's catching a lot of hell for that. I don't remember what a wombat looks like, but she walked up to it, she took it away from its mother, and she took off, and the mother started chasing her, so she started running. And all this was on camera, or on, like, she posted all this. And now she's saying that she didn't do that for entertainment, that she didn't mean for that to be content, which is bullshit, obviously. Kind of like the girl that says she didn't mean to, whack the other girl in the head with a baton. Yeah. I didn't mean to. That's the new thing. I didn't do that. I didn't do what you saw I did. I didn't do what you watched me do.
I didn't do any of that. What do you mean you've seen it?
Morgan said, wasn't she American? I mean, she may have been. The article I read said it was an Australian influencer, but she might have been American. I mean, heck, everything we look at online these days is laced with misinformation. Paulie said it was an American from Montana. Well, there you go. The states running out of gas thing is still just going crazy. My messages have been blowing up today. Why am I not talking about all the states running out of gas? Because they're not running out of gas. And this has gone from a TikTok video to now it's even being posted. No, just some southern states. Like Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Virginia. Anyway, it's unbelievably ridiculous. This guy makes this TikTok based on an old video from Hurricane Milton. And now there's even websites that have popped up that are saying, yeah, these states are running out of gas. It's not a thing.
I'm so confused. It started with just Florida.
Well, so there was another story in 2021. There was quite a few southern states in 2021 that were running out of gas. The Colonial Pipeline was hacked. It was right after COVID. We had a huge shortage of tanker truck drivers, and there were states, in, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, some of those southern states, Mississippi, that 30% or so of their gas stations were out of gas. But that happened in 2021. So what these websites are doing is they're posting the 2021 news story as if it's happening right now. And there's, Democrats all over the social media posting this as if it's true and, as a way to blame MAGA for something. I had to do a video earlier on my backup. I don't know. I need to just stay off the internet some days.
So, could you announce where to get your t-shirts?
Could I? Did I? Will I? Should I?
Yes.
My t-shirts are available. There's a link in my bio to a Shopify store. I have a lot of That's Not a Thing t-shirts. This is the one I made for my Canadian friends. We do ship to Canada, by the way. Also on my YouTube channel, I have a store where you can buy these shirts. I do not have a TikTok shop. I'm not going to have a TikTok shop. That's not a thing. Maybe I make a t-shirt that says TikTok shop. That's not a thing. I'm so anti-TikTok right now. It's not even funny. So a lot of people are talking about this ceasefire, potential peace deal with Ukraine and Russia. First of all, the fighting has not stopped. If anything, it has ramped up. A lot of people are saying there's peace in Ukraine. No, there's not. the fighting has escalated. And Putin has come out and said that peace will only come when Ukraine surrenders. That doesn't sound like Russia's interested in a peace deal or a ceasefire to me. Peace will only come when you surrender. That's not the terms of a ceasefire.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, for everyone saying, just suddenly out of nowhere, there's peace in Ukraine because nobody knows how anything works. Even if there was a ceasefire, a peace deal, even if this stuff had occurred, there would still be fighting going on. That's how this always works. How can you be so naive to believe that if Putin and Zelensky come to some kind of agreement that everyone will just stop fighting? That's not how it works. OPEC increased oil production in February. It has now come out that Iran pumped more oil in February in response to Donald Trump's sanctions. That also contributed to oil prices falling. Donald Trump put more sanctions on Iran. Iran said, okay, we'll pump more oil. How about that? What else do I have today? New Fox poll shows Trump approval rating at 42%. I don't really pay much attention to polls. I don't even know why I wrote this down. Do you pay any attention to polls?
I don't, because they're not always factual. They're just people who, I never did a poll, so.
Yeah, I remember, during the election, all these people make this content saying, hey, nobody's ever called me. I've never been in a poll. Do you know what the odds are of you being in a poll? I mean, there's 50 million people in this country. If they poll 1,000 people, what are the odds of you being one of those people?
So I had got a call during the election time to do a poll of who I was voting for.
Did you do it?
I did. I answered them. It was a question, and they were doing a poll on it, and I answered them.
Was it like computer automated type thing?
No, it was a person.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever been asked or not. I don't pay attention. If I was asked, I would have ignored it. I probably wouldn't even have noticed it.
So I don't know where they got my number from. But they kept calling me. Maybe because I make phone calls. I don't know. But yeah, they called me, and the Democratic Party called me to ask me.
Thank you, Metalhead. Thank you so much for the gift. Now, I've been asked to do other things, but I haven't been asked. I don't think I've been asked to participate in a poll.
That's the only time that I've ever been asked, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I was asked to I was offered money to talk shit about Donald Trump.
I remember.
I was like, what?
Joe Boo, this is why Joe Boo gave him my number.
Really? Watching the polls in Canada, Liberals were down by 20% in January, now within 1% at worst, and leading in some polls. Yeah. I have no idea. Does anyone ever believe polls? I know some people really buy into them because they just want this certain person to win so bad, so they just salivate at the idea of them doing well in a poll. I've never paid much attention to polls.
I don't pay attention to polls either.
I got a free box of wine. You got a free box of wine for giving someone her phone number?
Joe Boo. It wasn't worth a box. It should have at least been a bottle.
Yeah, who drinks boxed wine?
Well, I can name a few.
I don't even drink wine in a bottle, so I don't know what I'm saying. I can't stand the taste of good wine, so I can't imagine what box wine.
I don't mind good wine.
Huh?
I don't mind good wine.
I mind all wine. It's terrible.
Well, dry wine is terrible.
Like,
I don't
it
like
is.
dry wine.
It is terrible.
But I'm not a big drinker, so it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't give Joe Boo's number for anything, except for, I don't know.
Check out the hat. Thank you for the gift. I had a little period where I tried a bunch of different wine, and I didn't like any of it. What are we doing with wine? What is that?
I wouldn't give your number up for a postage stamp. Maybe some beef jerky.
Yeah, I do a lot for some beef jerky. There's a lot of things I do for beef jerky. Postage stamps, not so much. And the bigger the bag of beef jerky, the more stuff I'll do.
Yes.
Drink Canadian whiskey, it will put hair on your chest.
Well, I don't want that whiskey.
Yeah, I know. How does that work? Good morning from Australia. Good morning. What is going to happen with cuts to the U.S. Postal Service? I guess our mail will slow down a lot. I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing good. Nothing good. What do you think about the letter that Jamie Raskin is encouraging us to send to the government? I have not seen that, but I can't imagine. What does the letter say? Have you seen the letter, Jill? What are we supposed to send to the government?
I did not see the letter, so I have
Yeah,
no idea.
I haven't seen that either. I sent someone your video about oil prices. They said you were inaccurate. Well, did they tell you how I was inaccurate? Or did they just say that's inaccurate? I'm guessing they didn't tell you how it was inaccurate.
So a lot of people tell me you're inaccurate all the time. Yes.
Yeah. And do
They
you,
don't tell me how. They just tell me you are.
yeah, well, how? That's the important part, right?
Yeah.
So if you say I'm inaccurate, then you must know why. What does the shirt say right here? So Susan says Jamie Raskin wants people to send the government a letter requesting Doge to provide all information about them.
I kind of like that letter. I might look into that to see what information they have of mine.
Well, I would just assume they have it all.
I would assume they have it all too, but I'd like to see what.
I mean, hell, Google has it.
I mean, Zuckerberg already sold our information.
How much is a barrel of oil? It's a little over $67. The shirt, you can get the shirt. There's a link in my bio on TikTok to my Shopify store. It's right on my page. You just click on it. You can go there. Or you can get it on my YouTube channel. There's a store link to my YouTube channel. Thank you, Tina. My thoughts on Phillips 66 closing the Los Angeles refinery. Yeah, I've talked about that quite a bit. They're supposed to close that refinery by the end of this year. And there's a couple of other refineries that they're talking about closing. Not Phillips 66, but Valero. I know Valero is talking about closing one as well. If California loses another refinery, and I don't mean the Phillips 66, but if they lose another one after that, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's why the state of California is talking about buying their own refineries. I need to add an elbows up beaver shirt to that. Opinions about new tariffs on the auto industry. Those tariffs were temporarily delayed, but they'll make the price of cars go up. That's what they're going to do. So the idea is to request Doge to provide information they have about you and what they're doing with it, and like sort of a flood the zone type thing.
I like that idea. I mean, yeah.
Yoshi says, I live in California. What's the good, bad, and ugly of buying a refinery? Well, if the state does it, I'm sure they would hire fully capable people. But if the state is having to buy refinery, like if people are leaving your state so fast that you have to go buy, the government has to go buy the services that people need. I'm sure they'll hire perfectly capable people and it would operate just fine. It's just another symptom of the overall disease in California. Did you hear the recording of Trump saying, let's make all car batteries required in cars? I did. I also heard him say, let's just make Teslas gas powered. But I just don't know if those are accurate. Like, I don't know if that's really him or if it's AI or, you know what I mean? And that's why I don't talk about it much. Like, if I can't, you know, if I can't get some sense of accuracy, then I typically, I don't talk about it. Like, that's part of my thing, is to not spread misinformation. So, you know, I don't know if those are actually him or not. What do you think, Jill?
I don't know either. I haven't heard them. The one about the batteries or the gas, I have not heard that. But that's why a lot of times I watch him live, and people are like, "How can you do that?" Well, that's why I do it, to get the I know it's correct then.
Yeah, if I see him say something, I have no problem talking about that. But when I hear a recording, and it could be a recording from anybody. I mean, it could be a recording. It doesn't. I mean, I don't care who it is. It could be anybody. It could be a Republican, a Democrat. If it's a recording and that's all I have, I'm probably not going to talk about it. Not unless there's something else to substantiate it as actually being a real thing. If I don't know if it's a real thing, I'm not going to talk about it. There's enough people on social media spreading misinformation every day. I do not have any intention of participating in that ever. So is it Tim Courts? He thinks, or she thinks, the gas powered Tesla one is AI. Smarty Pants got another well TD'd. Tim. Okay, sorry. I'm about half blind. I'm blind in one eye and I can't see out the other one. But thanks, Tim. What? What are you laughing about?
You being blind in one eye and can't see out the other.
Well, I mean, it's true.
It's true for me too, then.
It's hard to determine if AI changed Trump's words, since they will more than likely sound smarter than what he actually said in real life. That's true.
Yes,
Yeah.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
If I heard a recording of Donald Trump saying something brilliant, I would know it's AI. I would absolutely know, like, because, that's a good point. Thank you, Robert. What is that green thing on my screen? I don't know what that is.
What are you saying?
I don't know. It's words that I can't read because they're too small.
And you got your glasses on. I told you it was time for new ones.
Yeah, it certainly is. If a president other than Trump asked you to be a consultant for oil and gas and energy, would you consider it? I mean, I don't think so. But honestly, I might consider it for Trump. Just go for a day, because, I'd probably be run off after about an hour. I would be the shortest advisor ever in any of Donald Trump's administrations. Probably the first thing I said would get me fired. I can beat Scaramucci's record. I think that Anthony Scaramucci was, I think he's the shortest tenured one so far. I could be wrong about that, but That green thing is a TikTok advertising. Okay, good. That would be 9 Scaramucci's. I wouldn't even bring an overnight bag. Matter of fact, I would probably have my flight home booked before I even got there. I get there at noon. Just have a flight ready for like 4. Be headed back to Oklahoma. Thank you, Mitch. Yes, a Scaramucci is now a measurement. Do you believe he wants it to be the Gulf of America so he can drill? No, that's not a thing. Changing the name of the Gulf doesn't change anything. Would I make it through a phone call? I would make it through a phone call just so I could get to go up there and get fired. Like, I could pretend for a phone call. I could totally do that. I just tell him, if Donald Trump called me, I just tell him he's the best. Put me on a plane.
Watch all your videos.
Yeah. I might not even get there. They might land the plane halfway or turn it around. Thanks, everyone, for the gifts. I don't know if he would tell me to lie. He would probably just say a bunch of lies. My team has completed the first stage of the team quest, whatever that means. What does that say? Does that say goat?
Where do you see goats?
You're getting goats. You're getting goats, Jill. Those things will.
That's what it is. Oh, it is.
Those things will jump on top of your car.
My car.
They destroy everything.
Goats are cool.
Hey, listen. Don't let your Trumper neighbors around your goats.
Why?
Just trust me.
Do they eat them?
No, not exactly.
Wow, never mind. I don't need to know anymore. I caught that right away after you said not exactly.
They'd be over at your house. Where'd you get that goat?
Can I pet that goat?
That's a good looking goat you got there.
Can I pet that goat?
Stop it. You are not touching my goat. Good Lord. You know, you could find a goat psychologist online, though. That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
The time I talked to the dog psychologist online, my wife was like,
Yes, I remember that.
my wife was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm talking to a psychologist." She's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, a dog psychologist, because my dog won't go potty for me. Something's wrong with my dog." It was free.
Florida's not out of gas. That was a lie. An old post.
Yeah, Florida's not out of gas. Whew. And the one time in my life I talked to a psychologist, it's about a dog. When is St. Patrick's Day? Is that?
Monday.
Is that Monday? How many times have you had to explain supply and demand in the last month? Well, how many days were in February? 28? 28 times. $28 times. I'll do it 30 or 31 in March, depending on how many days there are. What kind of goats do you have, Jill?
I don't have any goats.
Oh.
I have Trumper neighbors, remember?
What does the shirt say? That's what the shirt says. There's a link in my bio if you want one. On Facebook, all memes are true. They are on Jill's page.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I guess I need to make an elbows up t-shirt.
I guess so. Are they calling for it?
Yeah, a couple of people have said.
I guess you could say that's a thing. Because it is a thing.
Is it a thing?
It's a thing. That's a thing.
Elbows up, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With a leaf? With a leaf. With a flag.
Yeah.
Okay. %, elbows up in the maple leaf. Okay. I'll do that here in a little bit. I will do that here in a little bit. We just attacked Yemen. I think we do that like twice a week, don't we?
I don't even know. Like, I didn't hear anything on that.
Hello, Sam from the UK. Hello, Lorianne. How are you? We had a goat for a while. He was naughty, so we ate him. All right.
So, Trump launched strikes against Yemen and warns Iran.
Prediction time. Oil will be up Monday. Wait. Is St. Patty's Day a federal holiday?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, if it is, it'll be up Tuesday. Oil's going to be up. See how easy that was? Thank you, JM. It's interesting that, what was it, 30 minutes ago, that I said in response to Donald Trump's sanctions, Iran actually pumped more oil in February. And then like 30 minutes go by and there's stuff about Iran in the news. He's warning him. So the carbon tax is fixing to end in Canada. A lot of people in Canada are debating on whether it's actually going to bring prices down or not. Smarty Pants says it'll be up in overseas trading Sunday night. Yeah, that's when I'll be looking. I'll be looking Sunday night. Probably about 8 o'clock. So here's the thing about the carbon tax. Okay, they're getting rid of the carbon tax, and that applies. It applies to gasoline and natural gas. That's tied in there, and then also like home heating oil, some of those things, diesel. So the only way the prices don't go down for gasoline in Canada is if the retailers take that money as profit. So, a lot of people are talking about, well, the oil companies are just charged more. The oil companies don't set the price for gasoline. That's not how it works. When you go to the gas station, they paid a certain amount for their gasoline and they charge a certain amount for their gasoline, right? So if gas prices don't fall in Canada, it's because the retailers, and I believe the carbon tax is like 17.3 cents or something per gallon in Canada. That's for gasoline. I think it's 21 cents or something for diesel. If those prices don't fall, it's the retailers that, not the oil companies. It's the people that own the gas stations. So we'll see what happens, because Smarty Pants says it will be rolled into existing corporate carb tax. So you will pay more anyway in the end. Yeah, that's how taxes always work. Whenever they get rid of a tax, they just put it somewhere else, don't they? Green shakes. Jill, have you had a green shake yet?
No, but I will have one later today.
They're already making them.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been making them for a week or two, huh?
Mm-hmm. I figured I'd wait till my granddaughter came over, and
of course,
she'll be over today, and we'll go have one.
Yeah, green shakes are out at McDonald's if you want one. I won't be getting one.
I like them because I like mint.
I've never had one, and I don't really go to McDonald's.
We don't go to McDonald's much either. But I do like them milkshakes, so I will be going with my granddaughter.
Yeah, if their machine is working, as Tim says, that's true.
So it should be working here at the time she's coming over. We won't actually go there. We'll send Pappy to get them, and we'll hang out.
I'm paying under $3 a gallon near, what did you say? Cincinnati. What's the median cost of a gallon of gas in Canada? I'd have to do a little bit of math. Because they sell it by the liter. And I don't have the cost on the top of my head. It's like $1.50 times what, 3.7 3.73 or 5. Are the Edmonton Oilers your favorite hockey team? Sure. Absolutely.
Don't ask me mine. We're not doing this again.
You're what?
I said, don't ask me mine. We're not doing this again.
Your favorite hockey team?
Yeah.
Is it the Penguins?
Yeah, and you know that because the last time you picked on me over the Penguins.
I don't remember picking on you.
You did. You were laughing at the Penguins.
How do you find out if there's oil somewhere in the first place? You drill a well. You drill a well. The only way to find out with any certainty, or the maximum amount of certainty, I should say, is to just drill a damn well. You have to drill wells to create the database that you need to determine where the oil is, basically. What would happen if Canada and Mexico closed their borders to the U.S.? Would closing of the borders include like products and services?
So while you're waiting for that answer, you should make your announcement.
I should. Monday, St. Patrick's Day, apparently, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be interviewing the news girl on my YouTube channel. That's Mr. Global on YouTube, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern, 11 Mountain, 12 Pacific. You won't be able to see that on TikTok. You'll have to watch it on YouTube. If you don't catch the live, it will be on my page afterwards. Smarty Pants says you can look at some offset logs though first if you want. Well, that's the offset logs exist because someone drilled a well. I'm talking about the very first well drilled in a field, right? If you have other data, then yeah. We actually do what?
Go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
We actually use artificial intelligence to find oil reserves. In my company, we built our own program, and it collects data from fields. It collects all the data from all the wells and all the fields, and it compiles it all, and it's pretty cool. And it helps us find oil.
And the person that you asked the question to, they said yes, shut it all down. So
shutting everything down would pretty much stop it would pretty much stop the economies of all three countries. What time frame do you anticipate gas prices to significantly increase? I don't expect gas prices to significantly increase at all anytime soon. They may increase, or they will increase due to summer blend and seasonal demand through spring, but that's not, Fish Lake says you don't just go around drilling. Yeah, you do. When you're in a new field, Yeah, that's exactly what you drew. You know how many wells they had to drill in Prudhoe Bay to find oil? They didn't have any data, is what I'm saying. So if you don't have any data, the only way you can do it is by drilling wells. And even if you do have data, the only way you find it is to drill wells. Because data is not always what it seems to be, especially seismic data. Now, once you have a lot of data, yeah, you can do a ton of stuff, but so what our software does, like I said, it compiles all of the wells in a given area, right? It compiles all the geologic data. It compiles all of the production data from every single well. And it creates a sort of like a geologic map for you, but it's different than a geologic map because it's based purely on production data. And production data is the best kind of data there is for if you're looking for oil. It's better than any log. It's better than anything. Like there's nothing better than production data. Because not only can you see the production of all the wells, but you can see how each well responded to their nearby offset wells. And you can see how those offset wells responded as well. There's just an enormous amount of data that can be gathered from that. So that's what we use. It's data mapping is what it is. But yeah, once you drill a few wells, you have a little seismic data. Then, of course, you use it. You always use any data you have. But I was speaking from a bare bones, just starting out, right? The reason we created the program that we use is because, you know, we acquired a legacy oil field. So basically, we bought someone else's oil field. And so we have this field with a couple of hundred wells, and all of the data we had, we didn't trust it. We didn't trust seismic data and logs. We didn't trust all this stuff because a lot of it was from like the 70s and 80s. And it didn't give you great data back then. They thought it did, but it really didn't. And so we created this, and we had much, much better results once we created that. Yes, Smarty Pants. It is like a probability map. That's exactly like what it is. Thank you, Oben. So what were you going to say, Jill?
I got it out. Remember I said he said everything?
Oh,
That's
okay.
all yeah. And somebody was asking about your accounts, and I told him down in the chat, so.
And one of the problems is like a lot of your data that you get from logs, from logging oil wells that were run during the drilling process, they can't differentiate anything. You may see something there, but you don't know what it is. You don't know if it's salt water or if it's oil. Like you have no idea what it is. Do you know much about fracking? I feel like there is still a lot of info floating around out there that may or may not be factual. Damages to ecosystems, earthquakes, etc. I know a lot about fracking. When it comes to, that's actually the discipline, one of the disciplines that I got my formal appointment as an expert in is hydraulic fracturing. If your wellbore construction is correct and right and proper, then you're fine regarding fracking. If you have bad cement, if you have bad pipe, if you cut corners, then you get into problems. As far as the earthquakes goes, that's predominantly from the disposal of wastewater. It's not from the fracking itself. It's more like a byproduct of fracking. That can, you inject a ton of water into a fault line, you're going to get an earthquake eventually. And we determined, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago that that's what was causing earthquakes in Oklahoma and Arkansas, was the injection of wastewater into fault lines. We stopped doing that, and the earthquake stopped. Thank you, Myra. A Slumberjay open hole logging engineer told me the data is just a comparison to what's around it. That's exactly what it is. It's basically telling you the differences in what already exists there, right? But you get a lot. I mean, the data they get today is a lot better. Ooh, look at the gifts. Reset my goal. Thank you all so much for the gifts. Hello, Lil So Cutie. Do field opportunities change due to seismic activity, earthquakes? Not really. Not really. Gas prices down under Trump. Gas prices are the exact same price they were on election day. And they're still 10 cents a gallon higher than they were in December.
Be careful, because we know they're fragile.
Well, if gas prices were down, I would just say so. It's not important to me. I have no one to simp for. There's something I've noticed. Have you noticed that gas prices being where they are is this huge accomplishment and its success from Donald Trump? The stock market being where it is simply normal stock market fluctuations. Have you noticed that? Oh, the stock market, this is just normal fluctuations. Gas prices, Donald Trump is the best. Why can't the gas prices be normal fluctuations too? Considering the fact they're the exact same thing they were in November, and they're still higher than they were in December. Like, it's just normal fluctuations.
So it's their obsession with him, their love for him.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I had a phone call. How long can a pump jack be switched off without causing problems on startup? So, a pump jack being shut off doesn't hurt it. Like, you can start it back up. But you want to do like normal maintenance on it, right? You want to grease your saddle bearing. check the oil in your engine or whatever is powering it. Just do some normal maintenance on it before you start it back up, and it'll be fine. If it was fine when you shut it down, it'll be fine when you start it back up. Hell, the damn thing could probably sit there for 20 years, honestly. If it was in good shape when you shut it down, you just do a little maintenance on it. I have started up Pumpjacks that hadn't run for like 10 years. So, I mean, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I'd be more concerned about what's in the hole than the Pumpjack itself.
We lost him.
What?
We lost you for a second.
Well, I had a message I was trying to find.
I figured.
Hey, Matt, this is Josh down here. I was just going to let you
Find your message and then come back.
They're down here playing Nintendo. But you're welcome to come on down here, or I'll send them that way if I need to.
That was one of my neighbors. Hey, Rusty, how you doing? Huh?
Were they asking why gas prices were so high?
No, they were just letting me know my kid was at their house.
I think so, Navy bet.
Yeah. If you've had a Pumpjack down for long enough to be concerned about restarting it, I'm making the assumption you've gone ahead and pulled the well, because if it's been down that long, something happened, something happened in the well itself, probably a rod failure or maybe a hole in your tubing or a pump failure. But yeah, I have started up quite a few of them where I just tagged the pump, but they weren't down. They were just down because they became economical. They weren't down due to a failure. So it, depends on why it went down. But thank you, Canadian girl. Do you see oil continuing to come into the United States? Absolutely. Canada's not going to stop shipping us oil. They make good money doing that. My name is Isaac Neutron. Do you think that one's real? Is the Neutron one real, or is that AI? I don't know. I'm leaning towards AI on that one because it's so ridiculous. But at the same time, he says a lot of ridiculous stuff. That's why this stuff's hard to figure out if it's real or not.
It's real.
Is it?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. I unmuted to say that, and because it's real.
Tim says it was quoted in AP. So it was quoted in the Associated Press. So.
Oh, he definitely didn't misspoke. If I understand it happens to all of us and we all misspeak, in ways, but he does this every day, all day long. So I don't believe it was misspoken.
So here's the thing, right? Politicians get up in the morning and they talk. And they talk until they go to bed. They talk to the media. They're always recorded. They're always on camera. Like there's rare moment where politicians aren't speaking when someone's listening, a microphone or camera of some sort. So it is perfectly understandable that, they will obviously get caught quite often misspeaking. We all do it. But we don't say things like Tesla invented the light bulb. misspeaking and saying Tesla invented the light bulb is that's not misspeaking. That's stupidity.
And then on top of it, called Tesla, right? And this one here down here every day, all day long. No, yes, Tony, yes, your man, your leader definitely misspeaks all day, every day. Probably even when he's alone.
Yeah, the reason the one about grandma dying an hour faster if daylight savings time, the reason why that's believable is because of what he said about COVID. If we just stop testing, we'll have less cases. Watch a friend trim the end of his finger off between two polish rod clamps trying to tag the pump. That is not, that's not the best way to tag a pump. Oh my God.
Tony, I'm not biased at all. I'm an independent. I will pick on either side, and I'll tell you right now, that man has something wrong with him mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it. He has all the problems of everything. He even has to wear a diaper. Come on.
Joe Booth says Humphrey Davy invented the light bulb in the early 1800s.
I thought it was Tesla.
I don't know, but
it was Tesla.
All I can say, there's nothing more ironic than the most biased people on the planet telling me or you that you're biased.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean. When people tell me I'm a little tiny bit biased, I'm like, no, I'm not. But you would stick up for that man no matter what. No matter what he does. That's why he's the president.
We're getting a history lesson on light bulbs and Thomas Edison and some other dude. And so I've had a question on YouTube about oil prices in Yemen. It depends, what happens is really going to depend more on, someone mentioned that he threatened Iran today. That would likely have a larger impact on oil prices than us hitting Yemen. But both of those combined, that matters too. So, it probably won't be a huge thing, but it'll probably result in a bump in oil prices, It depends on, a lot of it will depend on what happens for the rest of the weekend as far as people running their mouths and talking, So, Trump has apparently threatened Iran. I didn't see it. People in the comment section are saying it. So if Iran replies to that and says, does some saber rattling of their own, or, that'll only make it worse. And Iran knows that, and Iran sells oil. So they will likely respond and make a statement of their own. It's in their best financial interest to do so. it doesn't mean anything at all other than they're going to help those oil prices bump a little bit. So it's not, the background is this t-shirt. That's available. There's a link in my bio to a Shopify store. There's also a store on my YouTube channel. And I got a bunch of different ones. I just made this one because Canadians have shown me so much support, you know. The percentage of my followers that are from Canada is rising daily. It's up to over 30%. I'm getting an itchy trigger finger to put my dough back in the markets. Oh man. Well, you know, when are they going to decide on, so the tariffs have been delayed for 30 days or most of them, right? You could put money back in the markets and pull it back out right before the next tariff date, maybe. I don't know. Thank you, Christine. Yep, that's what he's thinking. Jump in and jump out a couple of days before the tariffs. Kanukistan, huh? Is Kanukistan is that Canada wide, or is that Alberta, or never heard of Kanukistan. Have you, Jill?
Nope. No, I didn't.
Well, if Canada's Kanukistan, what are we? Yes. I got the same word in my head that you do. It's Dumbfuckistan. Ain't it? Ain't that what you were thinking?
Oh yeah.
Dumbfuckistan? Yeah, that's too easy. That's too easy. I think someone could hack into Google and change that on the map. Change Canada to Kanukistan and the United States to Dumbfuckistan. Can you explain the deregulation in New England? So when they deregulate utilities, the intent of that is to provide the people in those states with more choices of, you know, where they buy their electricity from, where they buy their natural gas from. That's the point. Like, so I live in a regulated state, and where I live, I can only buy electricity from one place, and I can only buy my natural gas from one place. But it's highly regulated. That means they basically, you know, the state has a lot of controls over what the people have to pay for those utilities. In a deregulated state, people are given a lot of options on, where to buy their electricity, where to buy their natural gas. Yes, it flows through the same pipelines. Yes, it flows through the same transmission lines, but you can get it from different companies. And what that has done, it has caused prices to increase dramatically, because normally more competition would lead to lower prices. But that's not the case when you're talking about utilities, because that is something that people have to have. You can't just say, I'm going to go without electricities. So when there's no elasticity in your demand for utilities, competition actually drives up prices. If you could choose whether to have lights on or not at your house, then yes, that would likely drive down prices, because people could just turn off their electricity if it was too much. But you can't do that. You can't turn off your electricity. There's no elasticity there. And when there's no elasticity, it completely negates anything that may happen from more competition. And that drives up prices, because now these companies can actually collude with each other and drive your prices up. And that's why states in New England, and California as well, they have the highest, utility rates in the country by far. Electricity in New England is probably twice as much as electricity where I live. On a kilowatt hour basis, it's twice as much, or close to twice as much. So, deregulation, people are very narrow-minded, right? And this is another area where politics just ruins everything, because some people believe that deregulation is good for just everything in all cases. But there's other factors involved that either drive up or drive down prices. It's not just one thing. It's never one thing. It's never been one thing. There's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things. So when you deregulate something that, like I said, there's no elasticity. Everyone has to buy it, and they know everyone has to buy it. And then you end up with a $500 charge on your bill for delivery charges, right? Because you have to buy it. You can't go without lights. So it's not like buying Twinkies, If there was more companies making Twinkies, they would be cheaper. But we're not talking about Twinkies. We're talking about electricity. So that's the problem. Lucius, you saw a video on a gravity battery. I have not seen that. I've not seen a gravity battery, no. Yeah, when I bring up delivery charges, people's ears perk up because they've all seen it. Whereas where I live, my delivery charge is set, and it doesn't matter how much I use. My delivery charge is the same every month, and it's very cheap. Super cheap. But I live in a regulated state.
So mine was $81, almost $82 this month.
Yeah. Florida is not out of gas. That's not a thing. That's an old story that has taken off and gone across social media. Florida's not out of gas. Georgia's not out of gas. Mississippi's not out of gas. Nobody's out of gas. It's not a thing.
I bought new smart light bulbs for the basement because I can't reach to turn them off, right? Because I'm too short. But so it should even go down even more now. But then summer's coming, so my air conditioner will be running.
So what are these smart light bulbs? What do you mean? What is that?
I tell the Amazon lady, I don't want to get anybody's lady going, that to turn them off. Then I don't have to.
Did you get your Amazon lady to say that thing we were talking about? I forgot what it was.
Oh no, I got to get her to do that.
What was it?
Baby drill, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So I say to her, drill baby drill, and then she'll say that's not a thing, and I have to get her to do that. Yes.
Do you have It's Not a Thing merch? I do. On my bio, on my homepage, on my TikTok page, there's a link to a Shopify store. That's where my It's Not a Thing merch is. I have about 10 or so different t-shirts. This is one of them that I made for Canada. But I have quite a few of them. Link in my bio, right under my picture. Since the Trump administration is admitting they want trade parity with Canada, should we just reduce our oil and gas exports with a quota to balance it out? What percentage would we have to reduce by? The problem with reducing your exports is you start stockpiling resources because, oil companies in Canada, they're not just going to shut their wells in, right? They're not any different than oil companies in other countries. They have to produce to make money. So if Canada says we're going to place a quota where we can only export X amount of oil a day, then that's going to be that's going to have a negative impact on the oil producers in Canada. And so that's the problem. They would have to basically, the oil producers would have to agree with it because no politician or no government's going to do that. And I don't believe the oil companies will ever agree to it. And this is where the rubber meets the road. There's a lot of money involved. And, if Canada reduces exports to the United States, who's that going to hurt? It's not going to hurt the United States because the United States can get it somewhere else. It's going to hurt Canada. It's going to hurt Canadian jobs. It's going to hurt Canadian revenue. It's going to hurt Canadian oil companies. It's going to hurt a lot of people in Canada. And gas prices will go up a little bit in the United States, but we can still get the oil from, a half a dozen other countries. So that would be kind of like, cutting off your nose to spite your face. It would hurt Canada more than it would hurt the United States. And I suspect there would be a huge backlash if that occurred, but... when will we start seeing summer prices? We're already starting to see summer prices in Texas. So last week in Texas, gas went up 8 cents a gallon in the state of Texas. And the reason it happened in the state of Texas is because we start summer blend in the hottest states, right? So Texas is a hot state. They warm up before anyone else. So we start in the south and we work our way north. So we're already seeing higher gas prices in the state of Texas. And as the days and weeks go by, that'll just migrate farther north every day. Gas prices went up here in my town. I think it was yesterday. So last week it was Texas. Yesterday, gas prices went up in my town by 8 cents as well. So we'll have to see how far they rise, but when those rising gas prices hit California, it's going to have a big impact on our national average. Because our national average is heavily weighted towards California because they have so many drivers that our national average price for a gallon of gas isn't really indicative of, gas prices across the United States, because California throws the average way off with their high prices. We can have 35 states under $3 a gallon, and California will throw all that off with their $4.70, $4.80 gas because there's like 40 million people there. So, the 17 people buying gas in South Dakota or Kansas don't outweigh the 40 million people in California.
So people are asking to explain the summer blend. friend, and Joe Boo said, can you explain it so he doesn't have to write it in the comments?
Sure. So as in summertime, temperatures warm up, and it causes a couple of things to happen. And this is all based on something called RVP, which is read vapor pressure, but I'm not going to get into that because it's a little too complex. But basically, to simple it down, in warmer temperatures, a couple of different things happen. One, your gasoline evaporates in your tank, which increases carbon emissions. And secondly, when you're driving, you also get more emissions during the summer because the heat traps everything in. So in the summertime, we switch to a summer blend, which reduces smog, reduces the ability of your gasoline to evaporate in the tank, right? And it's just different additives. In the wintertime, there's more butane in your gas. It increases the volatility of it. And butane is a lot cheaper. Butane is really cheap. So when they swap to winter blend, you're getting a cheaper gas because the components that make it up are much cheaper. In the summer, those components are much more expensive. So you get the bump in gas prices because of the additives. And this summer and winter blend, this is all mandated by the government of the United States, right? So oil companies, refineries, companies that sell gasoline, this isn't something they decide to do. This is something they are mandated to do by the government, by the EPA. So the summer blend, the reason there's not smog in California is because of their gasoline, right? That's the reason that we've gotten rid of a lot of the smog in California. So it reduces emissions. Your car runs better. You get better fuel mileage. But the main thing is the emissions. So it's more expensive to make summer blend gasoline. And the reason it's cheaper, like I said, in the winter is because there's more butane in it, and butane's super cheap. It's like the cheapest additive out there. But that's basically it. There's like 14 different grades of gasoline around the United States. I think it's 14 with different RVPs, which is your read vapor pressure. And some states have different standards for their RVPs than others. So there's actually, more than a dozen different, even summer blends that go out every summer. It's not the same blend in every state. It's a bunch of different blends based on what that particular state requires. If you're in an area in a highly populated area with a lot of traffic, then you will be in an area where your gas will be more expensive because the blend itself is more expensive because they're trying to reduce smog as much as possible. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But all these things, and a lot of people don't even believe they're a real thing, but these are all things that are mandated by the EPA and the United States government. So when your gas prices go up because of summer blend, it's not because the oil company wants to make summer blend to sell it to you, because they don't make any more money on it. They don't make any more money in the summer than they do the winter. It's no different to them. But these are federal regulations brought about by the EPA using the Clean Air Act. They'll also run a little more ethanol in summer blends as well.
Somebody was asking about fuel oil and people using it for their furnaces here in the United States because they use it in Canada. I don't know about other states, but in Pennsylvania, it's still quite popular to have a furnace that runs on fuel oil.
Yeah, a lot of the cold states, a lot of the northern states still use a lot of heating oil. Absolutely. You won't find heating oil where I live. That's not a thing. But the northern states, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have furnaces that run on fuel oil.
Midwest and the Southeast is getting hammered by tornadoes. I've not seen that, but I haven't really watched any TV. And fuel oil is, I mean, it is definitely a more expensive way to heat.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is.
Yeah, it's pricey.
Yeah, because sometimes you got to fill up, your tank 2-3 times. Two.
Could you see Trump trying, if not failing, to eliminate the Clean Air Act and attempting to get rid of the summer blend? The only way we can eliminate the Clean Air Act is for Congress to do it. And I don't think there's a chance in hell that Congress will get rid of the Clean Air Act. Why is gas in California so expensive? So California uses their own blend of gas that's only available in California and also Maricopa County in Arizona and maybe a couple other cities, but it's basically just California. It's their own clean burning fuel. And so they totally rely on their own refineries that exist within their state to make their gas. Their policies and regulations have largely driven over half the refineries out of California in the last 20 years. So their supply is constantly low, which drives up their price. And they have carbon taxes. They have all kinds of fees, and they have the highest gas taxes. And that's why California's gas is so high. That's it, You can't take gas from like Oklahoma and sell it in California. They won't allow it. It's not a thing.
Someone asked, isn't fuel oil basically diesel?
Yes, basically diesel. Has it paid off in a cleaner environment? Yes. The clean burning gas, the CBG in California has drastically reduced the smog. The air is cleaner. So, the results of the clean burning fuel in California are clear, right? It works. There's no doubt about that. My issue with California isn't the fact that they use clean burning fuel. My issue with California is particularly Gavin Newsom and the fact that he lies to Californians every day about why gas prices are high. That's my problem with California. It's basically Gavin Newsom. Because, people in California, they don't particularly care if they pay more for gas if it cleans up the air. So why is Gavin Newsom blaming everybody and their dog? He's not pointing at the clean burning fuel as the reason prices are higher. He blames it on everyone else. To me, I think if you're just honest with the people that live in California and say, yeah, gas prices are higher. We got this clean burning fuel. We cleaned up the air. That's it. That's all you got to say. You don't have to go around pointing your finger at oil companies or other, refiners or whatever, passing unbelievable, very hard to follow regulations, and blaming everything that's happening with prices in California on things other than what's causing it.
Two things.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
and make your announcement when you are done.
But you know, here's the thing, and this whole Gavin Newsom thing and Joe Biden thing as well. This is all part of the Democrats' plan to transition to cleaner energy, right? But the fact of the matter is, they're lying because they feel like they need to lie to get what they want. They want cleaner energy. Not a single Democrat anywhere in the government of the United States, anywhere, ever blamed Donald Trump one time for high gas prices. Not one time did they mention the OPEC 2020 deal. It was... Thank you so much for the gifts. You know, it was... The whole thing was lies. It was all lies. But what happens as soon as Donald Trump gets reelected? Within a week of Donald Trump getting reelected, there's Democrats on the House floor talking about Donald Trump's OPEC 2020 deal and how it drove up gas prices. Within a week. So that tells you they all knew and they were all fucking lying. And I don't know. I have this thing where I think people should just tell the truth. I think if you tell somebody the truth, even if they don't like it, they will appreciate it. Katie Porter, even, you know, the price gouging bill that she authored, the whole thing was a scam. They were telling people they were going to lower their gas prices every day. It wasn't. It was a complete scam. They wrote an entire piece of legislation just to get Republicans on the record voting against it. The reason the Republicans voted against it is because it did absolutely nothing they said it was going to do. The price gouging bill would only protect consumers in the event of an emergency where retailers jack up the price of gas because there's some, you know, natural disaster or something going on. That's the only thing that was in that bill. There was nothing about reducing your gas prices every day. Not a word about oil companies in the United States, you know. The whole thing was a scam. It was all political. And, you know, we elect people to go do a job, not to get into pissing contests with our competition. And, you know, just tell the truth. Joe Biden had a half a dozen excuses why gas prices were high, and none of them were correct because they chose not to mention Donald Trump's OPEC 2020 deal. That's it. Monday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm interviewing the news girl, Lisa Remillard, on my YouTube channel. That's Mr. Global on YouTube. Monday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Mountain Time. On my YouTube channel, Mr. Global on YouTube. If you don't catch the live, you can watch it later. Since when do we have to pay PG&E's maintenance and upgrades with higher electric bills? Shouldn't their profits do that? That's exactly what I'm saying. The reason you have to pay that is because the regulatory agencies allowed them to charge you that. And they're going to charge you whatever they can, whatever the regulators allow. Thank you for the gifts. What would have happened without the OPEC 2020 deal? Saudi Arabia and Russia would have cut production on their own. They didn't need a deal to cut production. They were both losing their shirts. They were, you know, Saudi Arabia and Russia increased production during COVID for one sole purpose, and that was to get Donald Trump to the table negotiating the OPEC 2020 deal. It was literally a trap. And the problem with the deal would have been fine if they would have done it quarter by quarter. If they would have said, okay, we're going to cut production for 3 months and then we're going to revisit and see where demand is because we're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know how long this is going to last. So we'll come back every quarter or we'll come back every 6 months and we'll revisit and adjust production accordingly. But they didn't do that. They got a blanket 2-year deal to cut production. Dumbest idea ever. And when that deal was over, Saudi Aramco was the richest company in the world. And we were paying $5 for gas. That's it. That's it. So, it's the way the deal was structured was just terrible. It was a terrible deal. The art of the deal. Regarding energy, what is Donald Trump's endgame? Donald Trump's endgame regarding energy is 2 things. To make it as cheap as possible and to lie about how he did it. Right? He doesn't care if it comes from OPEC. He says drill, baby, drill, but he's begging OPEC for oil, right? He doesn't care where it comes from. But I don't think he has a good understanding of how things work and the damage it does to our energy infrastructure every time we go through a crash. I don't think he has a clue. The reason gas prices are $3.08 today with oil at $67 instead of $2.80 is because of Donald Trump's policies. Is Donald Trump's policies in his first term is the reason gas is $3.08 today and not $2.80. And that's because we lost so much refining capacity that keeps prices high. We lost refining capacity because U.S. companies can't operate at the prices Donald Trump expects them to, so they just go out of business, right? And so, it's so ironic that today people are celebrating gas being at $3.08 and claiming it's the lowest in 4 years, which it's not. But the point is, what they're celebrating is that gas is almost 30 cents a gallon higher than it should be, but for Donald Trump. Because gas should be about $2.80 right now. If it was 2018 and oil was $67, gas would be somewhere between $2.80 and $2.90 probably. Yeah. And the reason it's a problem is because if he drives down prices again to where he did last time, we're going to have to pay for it in the future. And that's one of the things that people in this country, for whatever reason, they're not good at looking at what's coming in the future. And if we get $50 oil again and we get another crash under this Trump administration, we're going to lose more refineries. And then OPEC is going to reduce production. And then we're going to be paying $5.50 or $6 for gas. And it'll be because of the cheap gas. It'll be because of the cheap oil. That's it. How can I look up statistics on 2018 versus now? Google historical oil prices and go back to 2018 and look at a time when oil was around the same price that it is now, and then look at what gas prices were then. And keep in mind when you're looking at that stuff, gas is always higher in the spring and summer than it is in the winter. So you want to look for seasons as well. You don't want to just look at oil prices and gas prices, because $67, $66, $67 oil in a winter will bring you cheaper gas than $67 oil in the summer, because gas is just higher in the summer. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples when you're looking at that stuff. If you just Google that, it'll take you to the EIA. So, type in historical oil prices EIA, and that'll take you straight to the page. And then type in historical gas prices EIA, or historical gas prices Gas Buddy or AAA. Now, you got to remember, the gas prices on EIA, typically when you're looking at gas prices, they do an average of all the blends. So they take the lowest octane and they go through all the octanes and they average those prices. So your gas prices on EIA, your historical gas prices, are going to be an average of all the blends. So they're going to be higher than just the average gas price, because everyone else just takes like the 87 and, they do the average on that. When you look at average gas prices on AAA or Gas Buddy, what you're looking at is like 87. When you're looking at it on EIA, you're looking at an average of all the blends. So the EIA is always higher. A good rule is to just knock 10 cents a gallon off of the EIA number, and that'll put you right on the average. I'll reset my goal. Where are my dogs barking at? Yeah, there's a ton of good resources out there to just find all this data. And there's more data than you could ever consume on all these web pages. Thank you so much for the gifts, Nancy. Thank you, DW. At one point, our Suncor ethanol plant was the only profitable thing Suncor had for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Yeah. Oil in Guyana. Well, there's a little bit of turmoil going on in Guyana right now. Venezuela is basically trying to stake a claim to Guyana oil. We have to see what happens with that. But there's a ton of oil in Guyana, and they're going to continue increasing production. But Venezuela could definitely throw a wrench in all of that if they start a bunch of shit down there, which they are trying to do. What does the shirt say in the background? The shirt says 51st state. That's not a thing. Those are available in my bio on my homepage on TikTok. There's a link on my bio right below my name. Click on that. It'll take you to my Shopify store. 87 or 88. Someone asked if 88 works. It'll be, if you look up AAA or Gas Buddy, whatever price they show is basically the lowest octane. On a national average, it should be 87 or 88, depending on the site. Hi, Monkey Boots. Guyana has the best Kool-Aid? Learn something every day.
I thought Trump had the best Kool-Aid.
Oh, man. I don't know. I feel like he could even fuck Kool-Aid up.
I mean, his people are drinking it up.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. The highest octane generally these days at the pump. Well, in the United States, that depends on where you're at. Where I live, most places like 91 is, about as high as you can get. You can go to other places and get 93. Rarely do I see 94, but it depends on what state and area you're in when it comes to the United States. And your availability of higher octane fuels is typically occurs in more highly populated areas. So when you live in the sticks like me, about 91 is about as good as you get. You can probably find 93 somewhere if you drive around and look for it. But it just depends on where you're at, you know. If you were to drive into Houston, you know, you could find 93 pretty easily. It's everywhere. But where I live, it's 91. 97 in Ecuador. We do have racing fuel here as well that you can get, but it's now the racing fuel that we can get here is 108. It's not 116. How much does the price of oil affect gas prices? It's about 50%, but that's changing because the less refining capacity you have in any area, the oil prices have less of an effect on it. Mary, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Mary. But typically, you know, 45-50% of the price of a gallon of gas is heavily weighted towards the price of oil. But that, like I said, that's changed some because we have less refining capacity than we used to. So now that plays a larger role. Sunoco has 94 octane. Yeah. Steve says refineries make the octane they want. Refineries make what sells the best, right? What do they sell the most of? So, you know, the vast majority is going to be 87 because that is by far the most commonly purchased gasoline. But the higher blends, higher grades of gasoline, they're actually selling more of those now because the auto industry is telling people, hey, you got to run, you know, a 91 in this car. You have to run it or it'll just sit on the side of the road. So they are actually selling more higher octane fuels now than they did 15 years ago because auto manufacturers are doing that. Jason says most German and high-end cars. Yes, you know, the German cars, the high-end cars, they kind of started all that. And then after they started it, though, American manufacturers started picking up on it, and they started following suit. And what it really comes down to is it's another way to get them out of honoring any kind of warranty. That's really what it is. You take your car in for warranty work and it's got 87 gas in it and they tell you to run 91. They might say, yeah, we're not going to honor the warranty. They do the same thing with motor oil. If you know, if you're driving a truck that calls for 1540 and you run 540 or vice versa, they may not honor your warranty. No, it's not true at all. Jobu says he needs higher octane electricity in his car. All that free electricity Jobu's getting.
Free electricity, no gas bill. What up, Jobu? You don't have to put gas in your car. You get free electricity for it. Free charging.
Hoosier says, how would they know? So there's a few ways they know. So if you go to, let's say you have a truck that's supposed to take 5W40 and you put 1540 in it, right? Let's say something happens to your engine. You take it to the dealership to get warranty work done on it. The first thing they do is look at your maintenance records. And if you don't have them, they'll look for an oil change sticker on your windshield. And if that oil change sticker says 1540 when it's supposed to say 540, they'll void your warranty right there on the spot. I've seen them do it. With the gasoline, they can literally test the gasoline. Now, it depends on the dealership, and it depends on how much the auto manufacturer is sort of pushing that at the time. But I've seen this happen. I've seen people get their warranties voided for running a grade of oil that was not recommended, or running a grade of gasoline that was not recommended. I've seen both of these things happen in my little small town. So I know it happens out in the big world. So, I tell people, if you're going to run a different grade of oil in your engine than you're supposed to, have them put whatever grade is supposed to be in the engine on the damn sticker. If they see it on the sticker that it's the right oil, they'll probably just go on about their day and do work, and that'll be the end of it, So they're looking for clues.
Tony down there, stop spreading misinformation.
There's a lot of money in rejecting warranty work. There's a ton of money in that. Jill, it's 4:00.
It is.
It's 4:04 actually. All right, everyone. Monday, 2 p.m. Central Time, on my YouTube channel, Mr. Global on YouTube, I will be interviewing the news girl, Lisa Remillard, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Mountain. It'll be live. If you can't catch the live, you can catch it. It'll be posted on my YouTube channel later. Pretty much immediately. Once the live's over, they go ahead and post it. I'm going to try to get through the questions fairly quickly to give opportunity for some people in the chat to maybe ask Lisa some questions if they want to ask her something. Also, getting tons of requests and questions about my t-shirts right here. 51st State, that's not a thing. That's just one of about 10 t-shirts I have. The link to the store is in my bio on TikTok, and I also have a YouTube store. There is no TikTok shop for this. That's not a thing. Jill?
Thank you, everyone, for the gifts, and have a great weekend.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, Smarty Pants.